Nana, you can unmute and start. You have to unmute. You are muted, Nana.
Unmute. You need to enlarge the text.
I will.
Okay. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Tribunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namani Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Vande Guru Parampara Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Yeah, you need to go to full screen. Then the text will be reasonably big.
Yeah.
Go to the full screen.
That is what I'm trying to look at this full screen. I'm not going, I can't get this thing off.
This is not like normal.
Correct, I know. Fine. I've got it out. We stopped at 90, right, yesterday?
90. Correct.
Yeah, Dhritarashtra we finished yesterday.
Yes.
The meaning of Dhritarashtra. The problem of justice, dharma.
Yeah.
Shall I start or you would start?
No, shift it up slightly. I'll do that.
Okay.
Little more.
Little more?
Little more. Wait a minute. Correct.
We actually did
here.
Yesterday. Oh.
Yeah. You go one para up above for the sake of recap. Yeah. Leave it. Okay. Now, can you go to the full screen?
This is full screen, Nana.
Oh, okay. But
you
the
make your
is...
things full screen. This is full screen from my side.
Oh, okay.
Miru, you have to pinch your computer screen a little bit.
Okay, done.
Is it okay now for you?
Okay, that's okay. Now, dharma here means that which has to be done. The rulers also have their dharma in that there are certain things that must be done by them. The kingdom belonged to the Pandavas, and Yudhishthira, in fact, was the ruler. Every minute that Duryodhana continued to occupy the throne confirmed a dharma for which the Pandavas were responsible. There was, however, therefore no other way but to accept the challenge and fight it out. Incidentally, any questions? No questions, no?
Yesterday, there was a little deliberation on this aspect of food, non-vegetarian and all that.
Uh-huh.
That Dr. Mara actually brought up a reference from the Anushasanika Parva of Mahabharata,
Uh-huh.
where Bhishma is approached by Yudhishthira to ask about the food aspect. I think what is the right way of ahimsa? In that context, I can't remember the exact question that Yudhishthira asks, but it is about it's the aspect of ahimsa, and then he tells
What is
him
it? Hey, you are not clear in your question.
it is about ahimsa, and then Bhishma is told that a person, Yudhishthira is told by Bhishma that a person who either kills, eats, or is accomplice to this, or even buys, in killing of an animal, he accrues sin. But those animals that are earmarked for sacrifice, for the sacrifice, that doesn't accrue sin. Basically, for the pitrus, if you're offering as part of an offering to the pitrus, that is the only thing that does not accrue to sin, but everything else amounts to sin. So then we were kind of wondering, what is the way forward with respect to approach to this meat eating and things like that.
Okay, we will cover this at an
Yeah,
appropriate time, okay, as we go forward.
fine. While we are on that, did Krishna specifically in the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga or any other place
He did not
mention?
say anything.
He did not mention anything about meat
Gita
eating.
does not mention about meat eating at all,
He
or
only
not
mentioned
eating.
somewhere.
What it says is that which is after cooking has not passed one yamam, yata yamam gatarasam, puti paryushitam chayat, uchishtam api chamejyam tamasa bhojana priyam. He did not mention anything about not eating meat, because those days, you please understand this, in the Mahabharata days, during the Bhishma days, meat eating, even for Brahmins, was considered normal. Very, very normal. And to prove this point, along with Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, a number of Brahmins had gone to the forest. They said they do not want to remain in Hastinapura when Duryodhana was ruling. They said they will go with the Pandavas wherever they are. And Yudhishthira provided food for them. And the food was in various ways, including meat, of the animals that the Pandavas killed every day.
And in that, he also mentioned honey and meat. Honey and meat, he mentioned. So we were wondering why honey was also included. Was it because it is made by
Why
the...
honey was mentioned is, unless you kill the honey bees, you can't get the honey. Is it not a form of himsa? Maybe from that point of view. See, we can't take any particular thing out of context. In what
Right.
context was what question posed and what was the answer?
Mm.
Without the context, we should not just hang on to just that answer. We'll cover this ground later when opportune time comes.
Okay.
Duryodhana had gathered the support of most of the important kings within the empire by bringing them in various ways. He had the power in his hands to do this. Some of the kings joined the Pandavas too. In this situation, Krishna was another force to be reckoned with. His kingdom was Dwaraka on the west coast in Gujarat. Krishna had a well-known and very valorous army of Narayanas. See, regarding this meat eating, nothing is mentioned in the Ramayana also. Nothing is mentioned in the Mahabharata that Brahmins should not eat. Actually, that Vedavakya, which is often quoted is, you should not eat meat. In the Nishiddha karmas, no alcohol, no meat. These could be, that no meat especially, could be interpolation. Could be. Because in olden days, during the Ramayana and Mahabharata times, there was absolutely no prohibition regarding meat eating for any class of people. Class means the Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras. This came up later on only. This ahimsa is a very, very easily misunderstood word. Actually, the survival of the fittest will have himsa. No way to avoid that. Only thing is, you should not do himsa just for your pleasure. For keeping your body going, if you have to do, supposing you pluck some vegetable, is it himsa or no? From a tree, you are plucking a vegetable. Or for offering to the Lord of your choice, you are plucking some flowers. Because Krishna himself said, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. That means what? Giving pushpam is not forbidden by Krishna. And when you pluck the flower, it is himsa or no? You are separating the daughter from the mother. Mother is the plant. The daughter is the flower. You are separating one from the other. Is it himsa or no? These are to be understood very, very carefully. We'll see this. Krishna was resting at that time. Duryodhana was the first one to arrive. He saw that Krishna was sleeping. He found a nice chair at the head end of the sleeping Krishna and sat on it, waiting for Krishna to wake up. Arjuna also arrived shortly, and he had come. Yeah. For the same reason. The reason was seeking Krishna's help. And since Krishna was sleeping, he stood with folded hands at Krishna's feet. To Arjuna, Krishna was not just a king. Through his mother Kunti, they were related. But Arjuna knew Krishna to be more than an ordinary mortal. He had not yet recognized him as his guru yet. But he did recognize him as a person of extraordinary powers, caliber, and wisdom. Roma had it that Krishna was an incarnation of the Lord, and he was an avatara. In fact, many members of Arjuna's family worshipped him. Arjuna's uncle Vidura and his wife looked upon Krishna as the Lord, as did Arjuna's brothers, their wife Draupadi, and their mother Kunti. Arjuna recognized him more or less in the same way and wanted his help. This recognition of Krishna as an avatara is an important aspect of the Gita. And Bhagavan Krishna himself says that in the 4th chapter, Duryodhana knew why Arjuna had come, and Arjuna also knew why Duryodhana was there. As he opened his eyes, Krishna saw Arjuna first. Duryodhana no doubt made his presence known, perhaps by clearing his throat, etc. Krishna then turned to him and asked what he could do for him. He then put the same question to Arjuna. Duryodhana responded by saying, you know why we have come, why I have come. I seek your support. He also added, yeah, there was a query just now. Okay, some note I have seen. Nanaji, can you please explain that what Krishna said, Pushpam? In the 9th chapter, Patram Pushpam Phalam Thoyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachate Tadaham Bhaktyupa Purtam Ashnami Prayatatmanaha. Whoever gives me either a leaf, Patram, Pushpam, a flower, Phalam, a fruit, Thoyam, a drop of water also, Thoyam, Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. Whoever gives me, which is soaked with bhakti, Bhaktya Prayachati, Tadaham, that I will very readily, very happily take. Yome Bhaktya Prayachati, Tadaham, I will swikaromi. There's no problem. That's what Bhagavan Krishna said. Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, 9th chapter. Yome Bhaktya Prayachate. The important thing is it should be soaked with bhakti. It should be soaked with bhakti, not just about offering, not as a matter of routine work. No, I have to do puja. I lighted the lamp all night. I did not offer flowers to the Lord and simply throw some flowers to the Lord. There's no bhakti involved in that. It's a mere action. That mere action he is not happy with. It is like this. Whenever you receive a letter from your sweetheart, for instance, you do not care about in what envelope it has come. You are interested in the contents of that letter from the sweetheart. For Bhagavan, who are all the sweethearts, and how well we write to him, he is interested in that. Not how we decorate and give it to him. No, he is not interested. He is not interested in decorations. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. Whoever gives me imbued with bhakti, that is it. It must be soaked with bhakti. Okay. Oh,
Very
that was the
beautiful
interrupt.
example.
That is the Dr. Renu's question.
Yeah.
Krishna then turned to him and asked, okay, and you know why we have come, why I have come, I seek your support. He also added, I was the first to arrive and therefore my request should be entertained first. Arjuna also said, war has been declared and I am asking for your support. Krishna's proposal. Krishna was now in a great fix, but he was an adept at getting out of such tight situations. Both of them, he made a proposal. He said, if I join either of you, I will not fight. You have a choice between me, who will not lift a weapon, and on one hand, and my army on the other hand. If you choose me, you will be choosing the person Krishna, mere Krishna, who refuses to fight. Krishna was known to be a great fighter. Even as a child, he has knocked out Kamsa and had dealt with hordes of demonic people. To have such a fighter on your side would be a great asset. But this was not Krishna's proposal. Instead, he said, Arjuna, I happen to see you first, even though Duryodhana claims to have arrived first. However, because you are the younger of the two, you have the chance to choose first. The younger ones are entitled to this privilege. Therefore, I am proposing this to you and ask you to choose one of the two options, That is Krishna, who will not fight on the one side, and the army of Narayanas on the other side. If you choose me, I am not going to fight. I will come to your side and perhaps give some advice. But the army will go to Duryodhana. If you choose the army instead of me, then Duryodhana must take me. Krishna issued this proposal to Arjuna, knowing what his choice would be. He also knew that Duryodhana would prefer what Duryodhana will prefer. As he expected, Arjuna chose Krishna's services, whatever they would be, and in whichever form they would be available. This was what Arjuna wanted, and so he said, Krishna, please come to me. If Duryodhana ever prayed in his life, this was surely the time he prayed, and his prayers were answered, because he thought the Pandavas to be sentimental and born losers. Duryodhana expected Arjuna to ask for Krishna. He certainly did not want Krishna for himself. He would only be another mouth to feed during wartime, and the food was necessarily rationed. In addition, Krishna being a respected person, Duryodhana would have to take good care of him. Duryodhana did not want to be continually torn between taking care of Krishna and thinking about the war. A fighting Krishna would have been something to think over, but a non-fighting Krishna, a mere Krishna, would be useless to him, he thought. Duryodhana wanted Arjuna to ask for Krishna so that he would get Krishna's army, and this was exactly how it worked out. He returned to his camp rejoicing. Duryodhana had made his day. He was sure that he would win the war. The Krishna's army meant crack divisions, which with men who were fit to fight, adding greatly to his already enormous strength. Arjuna was equally happy. He knew Duryodhana was ecstatic, and he also knew what Duryodhana thought of him. Duryodhana's attitude and value structure was such that he would definitely look down on Arjuna and his preference. But Arjuna knew that with Krishna by his side, he would win the war. Sanjaya expresses the same idea in the last verse of the Gita. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhruva Nitihi, Iti Matir Mama. Wherever Lord Krishna is, wherever Arjuna is, with his bow in hand, ready to fight, there all wealth, victory, glory, and justice will be. The unknown factor, Daiva. In Arjuna's mind, this was very clear. Arjuna knew he had all the weapons and skill that he required. Nevertheless, he also knew he had to allow for one more thing, the unknown factor, Daiva. A dharmika, one who is committed to a life of dharma, appreciates his or her limitations and then takes this one step beyond, recognizing that success is ultimately possible only because of this unknown factor, Daiva. Later in the Gita, Bhagavan himself talks about this. Daiva is a factor over which you have no control at all, a factor that makes the difference between success and failure, between victory and defeat. We often call this unknown factor luck, good luck, and bad luck. In all cultures, I suppose there are equivalents for these two words because people have to account for a factor that seems to work favorably or otherwise. Even a hard-boiled dialectical materialist has to miss a bus occasionally and is constrained to say, I was unlucky. Catching the bus earlier than expected is also not an uncommon event. This unknown factor is viewed here as a divine factor. The unknown, invisible adrushta, explained earlier in the introduction. It represents an order and is called the law of karma, the law of dharma. The factor is not visible, but the results that are reaped by us are seen very clearly. The results are drishta, whereas the causes are adrishta. Qualities of a mature person, the one who does not leave the adrishta.
Nanaji,
Yes,
that
please.
causes are adrashta, how?
Causes are adrishta. You do not know the causes. What are the causes? Why were you rendered lucky or unlucky? There must be a cause. That cause is adrishta.
Thank you.
You got it there?
Got it. Sorry.
Whereas the result to you, it is available for you to see. The result is a drishta phala, whereas what tailored the result is the cause for the result, which is adrishta. Okay?
Thank you, Nanaji.
Yeah, good. Qualities of a mature person.
Where,
The
karana karanaya, right?
correct.
Bhagavan is the cause of the cause. Karana karanaya.
Correct. See, in this 18th chapter itself, there were 5 causes mentioned for any action. You remember that? Adhishtanam tata karta karanam chapradhak vidham daivam chevatra. Okay,
Panchamam.
that is a panchamam. So that daivam is the adrishta phala, adrishta. That is a cause. Qualities of qualities of a mature person, the one who does not leave the adrishta to the hands of chance, the one who does something to change the adrishta is considered to be a bhakta and is religiously mature. You may call such a person a religious person, but I would refer to him or her as a mature person who recognizes unseen hands that shape and are behind these known hands. Such hands are not the hands of chance, they are the hands of the law, the hands that made the law. Yeah. The hands that are the law and are looked upon as the Lord. The law is not separate from the Lord, and the wielder of the laws is also the Lord. Throughout the Gita, Krishna describes the person who recognizes this factor and at the same time recognizes the necessity of his or her own effort. As a mature person, a yogi. A mature person is one who has a fear of adharma, one who tries to conform to dharma. Dharmaputra, his 4 brothers, and his entire family underwent many privations for a long period of time only because of their commitment to dharma. Having such a commitment, Arjuna naturally recognized his own prowess and believed in his skills. He had self-confidence and was a person who knew the importance of effort. He did not keep beseeching the Lord, please give me, give me, give me. He knew what would not work. He knew that it would not work. Qualities for success. In order to be successful, 6 qualities are required. Udyama, proper effort. Sahasa, perseverance. Dhairya, courage. Buddhi, knowledge. Shakti, skill and resources. Okay. Next. Brahmana, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Nana. But in the previous paragraph, it said a mature person is one who does something to change the adrishta. And then towards the end, it says Arjuna recognized his own prowess and believed in his skill. He did not keep beseeching the Lord, please give me, give me. So that doesn't this seem to be a little bit of a contradiction here? They are trying to change the adrishta, mature person.
That is, by your prayerful attitude, you are seeking the help of the Lord to ward off any unseen influences which may come in the way of your adequate effort. You are interested in putting in effort yourself. You have the requisite knowledge for putting in the effort. while you are very confident about your effort and yourself, but still you recognize there is an unseen factor, and that unseen factor should not go against your effort. That is why you have a prayerful attitude before you begin any endeavor. That is a bhakta. Not a one always craving for the result of that action. No, the craving is different from this. That
Okay.
ardharthi does. That ardharthi does the craving. Before you start any activity, supposing you invoke who? The Vignanayaka, Ganesha, Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Jhaye Sarva Vignopashantaye. Please ward off all vignas. Sarva Vigno Upashantaye. Please silence all the vignas. Iti, you have got a prayerful attitude. You are not seeking his help in your efforts. You are very, very capable of putting in the effort. You are confident about yourself, and you have the requisite knowledge regarding the action you have undertaken. All these are the plus points. These are the drushta causes for you, but adrushta cause is there. That is why you have a prayerful attitude.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you, Nana.
It is different from being an ardharthi.
Right.
Very nicely, Nana.
Yeah.
Many times this confusion always comes to us.
Oh, okay.
Either,
Yeah.
are we asking for something, or, why to pray like that?
Yeah.
This was.
It is like this, sir. Supposing you are keen on taking the car and going on a long drive through portions of, say South India, North India, etc. What do you pray to the Lord? Please ensure that the road I travel will be harmless. Please ensure. That's all. That is the bhajya you are praying to the Lord. Please ensure that I will have a reasonably good, pleasant journey.
So whatever work we take, or they say no, first we should not aramba.
We should always start anything with a prayer.
No, but in one of this, we should not start anything. In one verse is there.
We should not start anything without a prayerful attitude.
No, that is no. But anything we should not desire, and we should not start to accrue the karma.
No.
That was what.
Correct.
That was what it is.
See, this desire.
I will tell you there was one verse on it.
Very right.
Should not. So we were worried anytime we start. Why? But this is the best way. We start and offer it to Ganesha for prayers to get us the adrushta phala.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And you need not bribe Ganesha at all. Your mere words, which are anointed with bhakti, they are good enough for Ganesha or Kitappa. You need not bribe them. You need not say, I will break 100 coconuts if you ensure that what I am seeking, you ensure 100 coconuts, either now or later. No, this is a kind of a bribe. Anybody is more like a beggar. Okay?
But many times Jyotisha people, they tell you do this, you do that.
Please listen. You are what? The product of the Lord, is it not?
Yeah.
So you are equivalent to the son of the Lord. Being the son of the Lord, you want to also become a beggar?
No,
the
that
Lord
is.
does not know what all you need. Will he not give you what all you want? And when you want how it is to be given, does not the Lord know? When you do not have confidence in the Lord, who is considered your father, okay? What makes you into a beggar, always seeking, beseeching, please give me this, please give me that. This is not bhakti. This is a beggar's attitude.
Authority.
Yeah, adharti. We must get out of that attitude. Bhakti
But many times, these Jyotish people, they say you do homa, then you do this and all that. All your problems will be solved.
Not
Such
like
things,
No,
many times we are confused in that,
No. See, a bhakta recognizes two things. Number one, the unseen factor that Daivam is there. And the Daivam can modify the effect of your prarabdha depending on the prayerful attitude with which you undertake any work. That is one he knows. Secondly, he also knows prarabdham cannot be avoided.
Oh.
He cannot be avoided. You have to go through with prarabdha.
Oh, for that you need. Okay, I got it.
Knows prarabdham bhogena nashtam bhavati. Bhogena, by indulgence, by facing that. Bhogena nashtam bhavati. Prarabdhavashad, this is happening to me. It's okay. This has come to me as a blessing from the Lord. And this is because of my Purva Janma, Sukritam and Dushtam. I will accept it very gladly. And this has come with the permission of the Lord. I will take that the prasadam given by the Lord. I will happily endure the custom, the difficulties in life. I will happily endure.
Okay.
That attitude is bhakti.
Okay, that is understood.
Keeping the Lord is not no bhakti at all. That is a businessman's attitude. I will give you this if you give me that. Some kind of a contract with the Lord. Okay.
But many these Jyotishas people, they tell that way. Why?
No. We can't mix up so many things. That is different. Okay, qualities for success. In order to be successful, 6 qualities are required. That we have seen already. Okay, you would roll up the page, please.
I thought maybe you would like to chant the shloka there.
Udyamaha, sahasam, dhairyam, buddhi, shakti, parakramaha, shadete, yatra vartate, tatra, deva, sahayakrit. Where these 6 qualities are there, the Daivam will go in a bit to help. Okay. The capacity to overcome obstacles, parakrama. You may have courage and enthusiasm, but no proper effort at the right time. On the other hand, you may have right effort, but no enthusiasm. You may also have the necessary enthusiasm to persevere, but if after some time you have not accomplished what you set out to accomplish, you may give up due to a lack of courage. In warfare, the knowledge of logistics is very important. You need to know how to approach the enemy, how to enter the opponent's ranks, and how to get out again. Skill and resources are also required. Without resources, what is the use of planning? Such effort is useless. If something requires manpower, you must have that. If raw material or skill is required, you must have that also. Finally, you must have the capacity to tide over an obstruction, parakrama, to be able to encounter and deal with forces that are inimical to you. You must be like a flowing river, unmindful of all obstructions. If a huge mountain is there, the river simply flows around it. It does not stop. If the obstruction is a simple rock, the river jumps over it. If it is a bigger rock, it simply goes around or swallows it and flows over it. If it comes to a valley, the river fills the valley first and then continues flowing. That is the nature of a river. It does not see an obstruction as an obstruction. Even if these 6 qualities are present, we cannot say with any degree of certainty that a person will meet with success. See, most of us are aware how we gave the exams in our prime of life. Whenever we opened a question paper, it was very likely the first 2 questions are something which are baffling, and you don't know the answer very really. So what do? You don't lose heart. What do? You go to the 3rd question, answer that. 4th question, answer that. Maybe the 7th question, answer that. And afterwards come back to the first question. And with the confidence with which you have given answers to the 3 or 4 questions you have done, that confidence will drive in you a special enthusiasm to be in a position to answer the first 2 questions, which you will do. That is being a droid. That is the parakrama. We're all aware of that. We have been through that in our life. Only thing is we tend to forget. If it comes to a value, okay, even if these 6 qualities are present, we cannot say with any degree of certainty that a person will meet with success. There is still the unknown factor to be recognized. This is the Daiva, that extended helping hand to be sought. Dharmaputra and Arjuna recognized it. They did not go to the forest because they were afraid of Duryodhana or of a fight. They went only to conform to Dharma because they recognized Daiva. They knew that you never get away with what you do. Krishna as the unknown factor, Arjuna being a mature person, knew the necessity of recognizing the unknown factor, which is for him was Daiva, Ishvara, the Lord. He recognized it in Krishna. Krishna was there and he told Arjuna he was available. Arjuna recognized him as grace in flesh and blood. Grace does not fight. It is not a weapon, a bow or an arrow, a place or a time. It is something that is not visible. Here, however, grace was visible in the form of Krishna with hands and legs, always wearing a smile as though he knew nothing. This was Krishna. And for Arjuna, mere Krishna was enough. One can always fight if one has to. With the 6 qualities required for success, one can take care of obstructions. However, the 7th factor is in Bhagavan, the Lord. Arjuna recognized this factor in the Lord and knew it made the difference between victory and defeat. He wanted only grace. Therefore, he wanted Krishna with him. Duryodhana viewed things differently. He was happy with the outcome and thought Arjuna was an idiot because of Duryodhana's belief was only in strength. Because he knew that strength required effort, he was also a great believer in effort, which was why he went to Krishna to seek his help. Duryodhana was a man of great effort and had planned well for this day. He was continually scheming. He saw to it that Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Jayadratha and the others felt obliged to him only because he felt that they were very important to his strength. Naturally then, Duryodhana believed only in the strength of Krishna's army, not in Krishna's grace. In addition, he got the army he wanted. Thus, Duryodhana and Arjuna felt equally victorious. What a proposition! Because they were 2 such different people. They could both be happy with the outcome. No judgment would make both the affected parties feel victorious. But there, Duryodhana thought he was the victor, and so did Arjuna. How could this be? That is because These two men had two types of thinking, two different commitments, and two different attitudes. Arjuna was happy with Krishna and would be Krishna. Arjuna was happy that Krishna would be with him, and Duryodhana was happy that Krishna's army would be with him. Thus, they represented two forces. Krishna then was going to be with the Pandavas. Where would he be during the war? Arjuna wanted him to be nearby. But where would he put him? His chariot had only two seats, one at the back for himself and the other in front for his driver. Given the arrangement, Arjuna could not ask Krishna to sit beside him. However, a double-seater could have been arranged. When you are preparing for war, it does not take much time to create a new chariot with two back seats. But if Krishna were to sit on the side or on the side of Arjuna, how would Arjuna draw inspiration from Krishna during the battle? As soon as he turned his head toward Krishna, he could lose the battle. Arjuna, that is, a sideways glance. Arjuna's opponents were Bhishma, Drona, Karna, among others, none of whom was a mediocre fighter. One blink of the eye, and Arjuna would be opening his eyes in heaven, because his opponents were not ordinary men. Arjuna knew that the only way to win the war was to keep Krishna in mind and fight, which meant that Krishna would only have to be in front of him. He therefore asked Krishna to be his charioteer. He said, "You told me you would not fight. However, driving a chariot is not fighting. Will you drive my chariot, Krishna?" Krishna agreed, thinking it would be fun to see the show. He would have a front row seat, so to speak. Krishna as Arjuna's charioteer.
Shall I take over from here, Nana?
Huh?
Shall I take over from here?
No problem. No problem. 1 minute, huh? Yeah. Krishna, after another para, Krishna as Arjuna's charioteer. Arjuna thus handed over his chariot, horses, and himself into Krishna's hands. Every arrow had to pass through Krishna before it reached Arjuna. When you keep Krishna, the divine factor, in front of you and do what you have to do, fighting or whatever, the arrows that come to you will have already been blunted. This is exactly what happened when Arjuna fought with Karna. Karna was considered to be the answer for Arjuna. Duryodhana had cultivated him only for that purpose alone. That there would be finally a duel between the two was a foregone conclusion. Again, except Arjuna and Krishna, nobody else was a match for Karna. Krishna, knowing all this, had very intelligently planned for that day. At first, when he knew that war was inevitable, he himself met Karna and tried to convince Karna that he should join the Pandavas by revealing to him the truth of his birth. He told Krishna that he was in fact a Kaunteya, son of Kunti, like Arjuna, born of Lord Surya. However, being the noble person that he was, Krishna refused to ditch Duryodhana at the last moment. Krishna made sure that Karna made a vow that he would not kill any Pandava other than Arjuna. To extract this vow from Karna, Krishna had tutored Kunti very well. Kunti, at the behest of Krishna, went to Karna and told him the story of his birth and requested him to join the Pandavas. Again, Karna refused, but he promised her that he would spare all her other sons except Arjuna. He told her that he would not kill any of the others. And if it came to a combat between him and Arjuna, one of them would live and he still would have 5 sons. He wanted nothing more than to kill Arjuna in order to show his gratitude to Duryodhana. Giving one's word was very important and was upheld even at the cost of one's life. The two epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana, are filled with situations based on someone having given his or her word. You take over.
Yeah. Karna had been born with kundalas, earrings in his ears, and a kavacha, an armor on his chest. This meant that he was gifted, that he was a very brilliant person and had the blessing of Lord Sun. However, he had one complex. He could not accept the fact that he was not a Kshatriya. After all, I am only the son of a chariot driver, he would say. Because he did not know who his real parents were, he always thought that he was a charioteer's son. His entire lot in life, however, was with the Kshatriyas because he was brilliant in archery, having acquired this expertise from Parashurama, who was like an avatara.
Nanaji, Nanaji, this what is the importance of that kundala? Many times it comes, Even Hanuman had that kundala.
Kundala is supposed to be an auspicious thing, heralding all good things that happen to you. Whereas
Importance.
Kavacha is a kind of an armor.
Yeah, that we understood. But kundala, what it is?
Kundala is supposed to be an auspicious possession.
Because Hanuman also had that Kanana Kundala
That's what
Kunchita
I'm saying.
Kesha.
It will ensure that all good things happen to you.
Oh,
as long
good.
as you have the kundalas. Auspicious.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it will herald all good things that will happen to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Parashurama's curse on Karna. Parashurama had made a vow that he would never teach a Kshatriya because of some problems he had had with them as a child. In fact, he had made a vow to destroy them, and he did destroy a lot of Kshatriyas. A man of great powers, he existed even at the time of Rama, with whom he had a verbal battle. Karna went to Parashurama as a Brahmana and learned archery from him. One day, Parashurama was sleeping with his head on Karna's lap. A big insect came along and bit Karna. Although the wound was bleeding profusely, Karna would not disturb his guru's rest. Feeling the wetness of the blood, Parashurama woke up. Seeing the blood, he knew that Karna could not be a Brahmana. Had he been, he would have made a great hue and cry over the sight of his own blood. Because Karna was able to stand the pain and sight of the blood, Parashurama was prompted to ask, "Who are you? Tell me the truth." Parashurama had vowed to teach no one other than a Brahmana. And now Karna was forced to admit that he was not a Brahmana. Having been deceived by Karna in this way, Parashurama cursed him. All that I have taught you will not be available to you at the time of need. You will forget all the mantras. These mantras were, in fact, the guided missiles Karna needed in battle. Karna later obtained another missile by the name Shakti for a one-time use from Lord Indra in return for the Kavacha and the Kundalas when Lord Indra came in disguise of a Brahmana and asked for them. True to his reputation, he would not deny anything that anyone asked as dana, and he had gifted them away. But he had obtained this astra called Shakti from Lord Indra, and he had reserved it for using it on Arjuna. And even Arjuna would have been powerless against this astra. Krishna knew this and all the time carefully avoided the duel between Arjuna and Karna as long as Karna had it with him. He arranged for a situation where Karna had to use it against Ghatotkacha, Bhima's son. Thus, by carefully planning, Krishna saved Arjuna from the Shakti. Karna still had the serpent missile, Nagastra, which he had also reserved to use against Arjuna. And use he did. When finally Karna faced Arjuna in the duel, he used it. It was coming right for Arjuna's head. Because Arjuna had no answer for Karna's Nagastra, It looked as though he would surely die. For a Nagastra, a Garudastra, an eagle missile is required. Only an eagle can take care of a serpent. What did Krishna do? He pressed the chariot so that it went down the few inches needed for the arrow to hit Arjuna's crown and not his head. To lose his crown was a great shame for Arjuna because he was no mean fighter, but at least his head was saved by Krishna's intervention. Krishna did not fight, he only pressed the chariot down. Stories such as these show the play of Daiva, the unknown factor in any situation. During the war, Arjuna kept this factor in front of him in the form of Krishna, his driver, and thereby saved himself. Everyone's life is a battle. With the awareness that Krishna, in other words, the Lord, is always with you, everything becomes easier. Arjuna did this and it saved him all the way. There were many occasions like this one, either before, during, or after the war, when Krishna's presence as the unknown factor made significant difference in the lives of the Pandavas. The blind Dhritarashtra knew that war had been declared. Sanjaya had just returned from the war front, carrying the news that Bhishma had fallen on the 10th day of the war. Dhritarashtra was shocked at the news, and after lamenting the fall of Bhishma, requested Sanjaya to tell him everything in detail that had happened after the war had been started. This request forms the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, the dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. This dialogue, called the Bhagavad Gita, occurred at the beginning before the war actually started, and this dialogue was reported verbatim by Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra was not only visually blind, but he was blind in his thinking also, as can be seen in the first verse itself. Nana, before we go forward, there are two clarifications. Here, this was at the time of Krishna and the Chaturvarnyam was there, like Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. Now, how come...
Say it again.
The Chaturvarnyam was there, existing at that time, correct?
Yeah, correct.
How come Parashurama and Drona, they were all Brahmanas? How come they learned archery and they taught archery? Isn't archery a kind, the forte of Kshatriyas? Brahmanas were supposed to be chanting the Vedas and teaching the Vedas.
See, Brahmanas, they were adept in some Vedas, including the Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda is archery. And out of the 4 Varnas, the first 3 Varnas used to go to the Gurukulam. And in the Gurukulam, they used to pick up a lot of knowledge, including Dhanur Vidya from the Guru.
Okay.
The Guru was required to have that knowledge. Same thing, Vasishtha taught Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna.
Okay.
Dronacharya is a Brahmana. He taught the Kuru princess. He taught also Karna. He taught also Drishtajumna, the opposing camp's commander-in-chief. They're supposed to have this knowledge. Only thing is, Dronacharya exceeded his limits. He was supposed to satisfy himself by teaching the Dhanurvidya, but he participated in showing his prowess in the war, which is a mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
Does not teach Karna. That is why Karna goes to Parashurama, right?
He does teach Karna also. No. Why Karna goes to Parashurama is to get the Divyastras, to get the Brahmastra and things like that. And incidentally, this Parashurama, it's a huge question. Parashurama was a kind of a person who was before Rama was born. Parashurama was an avatar in itself. Before Rama Avatara, it was Parashurama Avatara. Matsya Kurma Varahasya, Narasimha Vamana, Parashurama Rama, Balarama Krishna Kalkirevacha. These are the Dashavataras. So Parashurama Avatara was the earlier to Rama Avatara. And that Avatara Purusha, Parashurama, not only lived before Rama in the Treta Yuga, he happened to live during Dwapara Yuga also, and has been the guru for so many people. And Dronacharya goes to Parashurama, seeking a lot of wealth from Parashurama. Parashurama says, I have given away all what I have to all other seekers earlier, but I have some Divyastras to take them what you want. So Dronacharya also is benefited from Parashurama like that. Whereas Karna goes to get the technique, get the mantras of the Divyastras. Why Parashurama vowed not to teach Kshatriyas was because his father was eliminated by Kshatriyas. Hayhayas, the Kartavirya Arjuna's sons, they have done that. That is why he vowed not to teach Kshatriyas at all. Okay.
And the Bhagavad Gita was the starting of the Bhagavad Gita, as Dhritarashtra asks the first question. This was actually 10 days after the war started, correct?
Correct, very right.
It's a narration given by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra verbatim, as if he was like giving him the flashback. Basically, it was after 10 days of the war.
Correct. After Bhishma has fallen.
Bhishma has fallen, okay.
This fellow Dhritarashtra will swoon when he comes to know. Sanjaya comes running and says, Bhishma has fallen. And the Dhritarashtra will swoon. And he will be nicely comforted by the women folk and his servants, including Sanjaya, etc. Then when he comes to his normal sense, he asks Sanjaya, Kim akurvata Sanjaya, what did they do? What did they do? What are they doing? No. What did they do? Kim akurvata Sanjaya. What did they do? And Sanjaya keeps on giving. And when Sanjaya keeps on giving the Gita first, Dhritarashtra is not interested in the Gita. Dhritarashtra is interested in what is happening after Bhishma, what is happening to the war. That's all. And he keeps on cursing Krishna also. When Sanjaya narrates the Gita to Dhritarashtra and keeps on, Krishna says, Uttishta parantapa, tasmat yogaya yujyasva. All these things. Then Dhritarashtra will be unhappy. Why is unnecessarily Krishna is making Arjuna his accomplice? Why is he making Arjuna unwilling to fight? To fight. Is there any meaning? That is the height of delusion. It's an event which is already over. The war has started 10 days back. That he does not recognize. He's a fool. Okay, blind fool.
Yeah.
Forward.
And Nanuji, and when was it written down?
Pardon?
When was it written down? Like Vyasa was narrating and Ganesha was writing. When was that done?
No, I did not get your question, madam.
The Mahabharata was written by Ganesha, right?
Correct.
And Vyasa narrated this. And when did this happen? This happened after the war was over, is it?
After everything is over, Vyasa Bhagavan has rendered the Mahabharata.
Okay, thank you.
You got my point? After everything is over, Vyasa Bhagavan has dictated to Ganesha.
I wanted to make
Okay.
another observation with respect to Duryodhana and Arjuna, when they sought Krishna. There is a Duryodhana and Arjuna also amongst us in our own self. Like if you're going after what the materialistic stuff, everything that the creation gives us, materialistic, like an artharthi or an arthi, then you are in the Duryodhana mode. But whereas if you are after mumukshutvam, you're after Ishvara, you're in that mumukshutva mode, then you are like Arjuna. So it is not what the Lord gives, but it's not the Lord's army that we're interested in. We are interested in the Lord himself.
True. But strangely, what happens is, there are times when we will become Arjunas. There are times in the same person like me or you, who will be Duryodhanas.
Correct.
Okay? Not then, because today I have been Arjuna, I'll continue being Arjuna. There's no guarantee. It is the compulsion of the events, compulsion of the time, the other influences, the people around us, whatever happened earlier, what is expected to happen, which may not be palatable to me, then we will become Duryodhana. That's why we have to be watchful all the time. That Shama, Dhamma, it's not just for nothing. Acharyas have mentioned. Shamo, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, Mumukshutvam, all these things. It's not for fun. People have mentioned this. It must be all the time, like kavachas for you, like your armor, making you lead your life protected by this. Yes, somebody was asking a question.
Any moment, we have two paths, Shreyas and Preyas.
Yep.
So we have to go for Shreyas. That is, we have to, then only the long term.
Always.
So that
always.
It is dharma and adharma. There only we can have.
No, it goes even beyond both.
Yeah.
Both, yes. Okay.
Shreyas is beyond your dharma.
Yes.
Dharma, artha, kama. This artha and kama, dharmena, dharma yuktena, artha and kama, you have to derive them. That is a noble way of life. That is the Laukika way of life. But that is not the Bhakta's way of life. A Bhakta need not be preferring Shreyas. This yeah, exactly. He prefers Preyas.
Shreyas includes moksha, no?
Shreyas is only that moksha. Shreyas is freedom from the samsara. That is Shreyas.
Moksha also same.
The janana marana pravaha, that freedom seeking, that is Shreyas.
Dhritarashtra's question. Sanjaya was sitting in the palace in Hastinapura in front of Dhritarashtra, who asked the question, what happened between the Pandavas and my people at Kurukshetra? As the narrator of the Gita, Sanjaya had been given the power by Vyasa to see and hear what was taking place elsewhere. Although Dhritarashtra was the oldest, most revered person in the family, he was nursing a jealousy towards the Pandavas because they were the sons of his younger brother Pandu, who ruled the kingdom instead of him due to his blindness. Such complexes do not easily disappear. It is important to note that the word dharma is the first word of the Gita. If you protect dharma, dharma will protect you. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. But this is not the case with things like money. The money you protect may protect you in a time of need, but it can also attract bandits and muggers. But when dharma is protected, it does protect you. To protect dharma is to live dharma. And for a kshatriya to live dharma, he must do what is to be done. To do what is to be done leads to moksha. That is why dharma is placed first among the 4 purusharthas, human ends or pursuits: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In fact, the order is more accurately reflected as artha, kama, dharma, and moksha, in keeping with a person's natural tendency to go for security and pleasure, artha and kama first. But dharma is placed first because of its importance. But shouldn't it be moksha first? Actually speaking, for mumukshus, shouldn't moksha be first? That is what we've been told.
Okay, okay. But all people are not readily qualified for moksha. You must consider any shastra is to cater to the entirety of the mankind. That is why dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma yuktena, ardham, and kamam. You perform those, okay? And afterwards, you will yourself realize. You will yourself realize that this is futile. Whatever you have earned, it's not going to be beneficial to you. What is beneficial to you is a kind of freedom from sorrow, freedom from the tossing between sorrow and happiness. That you will recognize later. Pariksha kamahan. That vakya you will know. And tat vijnanardham sagurumeva bhigachet. He recognizes there is no way you can gain that by action. Nasti akruta krutena akrutaha. Akrutaha means that moksha, that shreyas. It is not akruta. It is not akruta means it is akruta. Not akruta is not correct. It is akruta. It is not created. It is your very nature. And what is your very nature? You are trying to gain that by so many activities. It cannot happen. Then you will realize that. Then you will seek moksha.
Very nice.
The Shastra Vakya will have to take care of even the lowliest of humankind. Lowliest of humankind means in the form of attitudes.
Correct.
That's it.
Thank you, Nanda. Just before the war, Vyasa had gone to Dhritarashtra to talk to him. He had tried to convince him to bear upon Duryodhana to make peace with the Pandavas and avoid the war. But Dhritarashtra was not convinced. He then offered Dhritarashtra a divine eyesight so that he could witness the happenings at the war front sitting in his palace. Dhritarashtra refused, saying that it was very painful for him to witness the destruction of his own people. He requested Vyasa to bestow that power on Sanjaya. Vyasa then gave a boon to Sanjaya that he would witness everything that happened in every nook and corner of the battlefield, wherever he was. He said that nothing would be paroksha to him. That is, he would know everything as if he was a direct witness. He would know everything, including what was spoken and thought of by those in the battlefield. Using this, Sanjaya faithfully reported everything to Dhritarashtra. The law of dharma. Because the Gita begins with the word dharma in the compound dharma kshetre, the importance of dharma is evident. Kshetra means a place. A place of pilgrimage is called a kshetra. It can be a country or your physical body. The whole Bharata, India, was a place where the Vedas once ruled the hearts of the people, and therefore it is a dharma pradhana kshetra, meaning that the predominant ruling factor of all human activity is the law of dharma, Veda Yukta Dharma. Dharma is important, and everything else, power, wealth, etc., should be in conformity with it. Power without dharma is not power at all and is not considered proper. Money without dharma is not true wealth. Any form of pleasure should be gathered legitimately. According to dharma, A ruler is to be respected, which is why you do not seek a king's audience with empty hands. Similarly, when you go to a temple or to a teacher, you always carry something. No one should approach these three, Devata, Guru, and Raja, empty-handed. This is why the citizens of India always greet a new king with flowers or some other offering in their hands. They even did this for Alexander the Great, until he actually won the war. They fought against him. Once he won, they all lined up and offered flowers to him. Because the entire country was ruled by the Vedas, it was referred to as Dharma Kshetra. Because Dharma prevailed, the Indian people always respected the king. This was known very well by the British, and that was why they retained the local kings. These kings ruled the people who worshipped them, and the British ruled the kings, extracting annual tributes from them. Although there were rumblings, they allowed the small kingdoms to exist. The Muslims were also able to rule the majority of people only because of this particular dharma. Every new world country, previously colonized and subsequently independent, has a history of bloody coups. India, on the other hand, has never had such coups because even today, dharma is in the very blood of the people. This is Vaidika dharma. You cannot change it completely. It is still there. India is a peace-loving country. Because there is a Vedic genius there, the whole country is a Dharma Kshetra. It is a place where even in the courtyards of people's homes, one can hear talk of the timeless, the all-knowing, and the limitless. What a culture it is. Classes on the Upanishads are conducted under a tree for large groups of people. A mountain may be in view and the river Ganga may be flowing by. Here the teacher, a hermit, says, all that is there is one. All the dividing factors are but a myth. This is India, Bharata Bhumi. This particular Bhumi, earth or land, has something amazing about it. It has survived thousands of years of deliberate exploitation and destruction only because of the intrinsic worth of the Vedic wisdom. Therefore, it is called Dharma Kshetra. Looking at the words in the first verse, then, Kurukshetra is the name of the place from where the Kuru clan ruled, a place named after the head of this clan, whereas Dharma Kshetra refers to the entire country. Those who wanted to fight, who had gathered to fight, are called Yuyutsus, meaning ones who have a desire to fight. Dhritarashtra's weakness. The words Mamakaha and Pandavaha in this verse are significant. Pandu's sons were not unknown to Dhritarashtra, and yet he did not include them among his own people here. Dhritarashtra was the oldest in the family and should have looked upon Pandu's children as his own, and yet he used the words Pandavaha and Mamakaha, thus creating a division when he asked, what happened between my people and the Pandavas, revealing where his heart lay. This information was important to Dhritarashtra because his son's victory would be his own. Therefore, he wanted to know, did Duryodhana win? Impelled by dharma out of fear of destroying his own people, did Dharmaputra decide to go back to the forest so that my Duryodhana could retain the kingdom? His question reflected his wishful thinking. Otherwise, the question would have been irrelevant. He would not have asked, Kim Akurvata, what did they do? Everyone had obviously come to fight. They were armed to the molars. They had not assembled there to have fun. Dhritarashtra himself knew that. Moreover, he was very eager to know everything that had happened in detail. Dhritarashtra knew he did not have dharma with him. He also knew very well that his sons had no dharma either. He did not stop the war. He did not tell Duryodhana that what he was doing was wrong and withdraw his support. Had he done so, Bhishma and Drona would not have joined Duryodhana because what he was doing would have been against his father's mandate. None of this happened, however. All Dhritarashtra had to do was to speak one sentence to Duryodhana, but this he did not do. This was Dhritarashtra. He was very jealous of the Pandavas. This jealousy and his blind love for Duryodhana led him to support all the schemes that Duryodhana hatched against the Pandavas. Thus, he was indirectly responsible for the war and its outcome. The war in one's mind. This verse can also be looked at subjectively. Kurukshetra would then mean Karma Kshetra, the physical body. Because the human body is a place where, backed by free will, karma is done, it is called a Karma Kshetra. The same Karma Kshetra is also called Dharma Kshetra because it is born of Dharma, meaning Punya. According to the law of karma, a human incarnation is due to a mixture of both Punya and Papa, with Punya being the predominant factor. Therefore, it is called Punya Pradhana Kshetra. Here then, in this human physical body called Punya Pradhana Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, two forces have assembled. Dharma, represented by the Pandavas, and Adharma, represented by Dhritarashtra's sons. Dhritarashtra was blind, but more than that, his mind was blind to Dharma and Adharma, right and wrong. Therefore, his sons, the Kauravas, are considered to be the brood of ignorance. In other words, they were born of the lack of discrimination between right and wrong, aviveka. Blindness is ignorance, and aviveka is the lack of discriminative knowledge. The Gita deals with two types of aviveka. One is with reference to dharma and adharma, right and wrong, and the other is with reference to atma and anatma, which is why the Gita is called both Yoga Shastra and Brahma Vidya. The blind man here stands for ignorance, ajnana. In blindness, you do not see, and in ignorance also, you do not see. The fight between dharma and adharma. Confusion is born out of ignorance. No one, however, can say, I am ignorant of what is right and wrong. Whatever one expects from others in terms of behavior, attitudes, and so on, is right if the same behavior and attitudes are expected of oneself by others. This means that the values are understood by everyone, but the value of the values is not. Here, the Kauravas represent the many confusions caused by ignorance, which is why they are greater in number than the Pandavas. Pandu stands for discriminative knowledge. In the Mahabharata, he was presented as being very white in appearance. White always stands for knowledge. The Pandavas then were born of this discriminative knowledge with reference to dharma and adharma. There were only a handful and represent our inclinations towards dharma. They are also inclinations towards adharma. These are born out of aviveka, lack of discrimination, with reference to the value of values, whereas inclinations towards dharma are born out of one's general knowledge of right and wrong. Because of the confusion surrounding values, there is a fight between the inclinations towards dharma and those towards adharma. Only in a human body or in its equivalent is this fight possible. No human being can avoid this conflict unless he or she understands everything properly. Dhritarashtra's question, what did they do, reflects a confusion related to values born of ignorance. Any external problem can come from an internal problem. All wars are first fought in the mind, are they not? The Second World War was first fought in the mind of Hitler. The conflict that began in the mind was actualized on the battlefield. All problems start in the mind and later find their expression outside. Without conflict in the mind, there would be no external conflict. Nana, here it is said only in a human body or its equivalent. What is the equivalent here that is hinted at? Nana, you are muted. We cannot hear you. Okay. The imagery of the chariot. Arjuna's chariot with Arjuna and Krishna in it can be seen in terms of self-knowledge.
Brahmara,
Yes,
Brahmara, to answer your question,
Huh.
human body or its equivalent.
Huh.
Equivalent can be the Daivik body, the Deva Sharira. Even there, this is relevant.
Okay.
In the 18th chapter, there is a sloka, I forgot that sloka. What it says is, neither here nor elsewhere, nor even in the Devaloka, there is anybody who is free from these three gunas. Nobody is free from these three gunas.
Okay.
Okay? Human body or its equivalent will be that.
Fine.
Yeah.
The imagery of the chariot. Arjuna's chariot with Arjuna and Krishna in it can be seen in terms of self-knowledge unfolded by the Upanishads and the Gita. The significance of this scenario is explained in the Kathopanishad. The physical body is the chariot, Ratha is the intellect, Buddhi is its driver, Sarathi. The self, Atma, is the master seated in the back seat.
Hey, wait a minute. That kama you are missing. The physical body is a chariot, Ratha. Okay?
Yeah, the comma is given not after Ratha but chariot. I know the physical body, Ratha is the chariot is the physical body.
Correct.
Intellect, Buddhi is its driver, Sarathi.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the
I think
comma is
the karma is kind of misplaced.
Yeah, just misplaced,
Yeah.
correct. The self, Atma, is the master seated in the back seat. The mind is likened to the reins that control the horses, and the horses represent the sense organs. The sense objects become the roads, as it were, because the sense organs naturally go towards them. These horses are held in check by the Sarathi, the driver. He or she may let go of the reins, but the horses are still kept under control. Thus, with your body as your chariot and your intellect as your driver, seated in the back seat, you are out in the world. If your viveka discrimination is not available to you, it is because your driver is confused. And what happens to the chariot under such circumstances becomes quite understandable. Buddhi as Guru. Now we can bring in this imagery into the opening scene of the Gita. Here, the charioteer is Lord Krishna, the Guru. He keeps the horses under control, thereby keeping the chariot under control. Krishna being a jnani, his mind and senses are under his control. He has absolute mastery over them. The student who is a karma yogi too has a buddhi that has the mind and senses under its control. Now, the student's buddhi is not different from the guru's buddhi when such a buddhi is exposed to the pramana taught by the guru. Therefore, such a buddhi exposed to the teaching can itself be likened to the guru. Although we say that the pramana is Vedanta, it is really a thought, a vritti, that is the pramana. Pramana is that which gives rise to knowledge. For example, the eyes are not the final pramana for seeing. The vritti is the final pramana inasmuch as it is the final cause for knowledge. To see a flower, you must have a flower vritti. It is this flower vritti that gives rise to the knowledge of the flower seen. This is what is meant by pramana. A vritti is born out of a certain situation and becomes the pramana. We say that ears and eyes are the pramana, but in the final analysis, vritti alone is the pramana. The mind being the place where the vritti occurs is called antakarana, meaning inner instrument. When you are exposed to a teacher or the teaching, your buddhi, the intellect, assumes the very form of the pramana, the teaching. Therefore, the guru's buddhi or the teaching and your buddhi become one and the same. This guru buddhi tells us, you are that, tat tvam asi. Here, the guru buddhi is turned towards Arjuna, who represents the confused antakarana, the ego or one's notion of I. Arjuna was definitely confused. He had great sorrow and he was being told tat tvam asi. That is why he asked so many questions in the 17 chapters that followed. Exposed to the teaching, one's own buddhi assumes the very meaning of the teaching and thereby becomes the guru to oneself. If your buddhi does not know this fact, tattvam asi, it cannot tell you. It cannot tell you anything more than what it knows. This is why continually asking, who am I, does not work. Nothing can happen because you do not know what you do not know. Someone has to teach you. You cannot simply ask, who am I, and expect to get an answer, because the I that is always present is the one asking the question. How will the answer to such a question come? You cannot hope to stumble upon the fact. The fact is you. Therefore, you are not going to stumble upon an answer that is anything more than what you already know. The only way an answer can be obtained is by this buddhi, meaning the Shastra pointing towards the confused jiva and saying, you are the whole, Param Brahma, as we shall see. Thus, the whole Gita can be presented through the Krishna-Arjuna chariot scene. To go back to the palace, Sanjaya Uvacha, Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyamupasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit.
Hari Om. I think this is the beginning of the first chapter.
Right.
Apart from the first sloka, this is how. I think if you roll up a little more, you will know. You will see the third verse. No,
Correct.
roll up.
Roll up.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, third verse. So you stop here.
Okay.
What we will do, day after. Tomorrow we are not meeting.
Right.
Day after we will start with what you know?
Gita chanting.
Arjuna Uvacha Nashto Moha Smrutirlabdha Tvatprasada Anmaya Achyuta, and go through Tatra Yogeshwara Krishna.
Okay.
And the commentary we will complete, and then we will go through Gita Mahatmyam. Subsequently, we will start the Gita chanting. Okay?
Fine.
This is the end of this introduction.
Okay.
After this Krishna Arjuna chariot scene, that is the end. All right?
Okay. Yeah, then.
Good. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschet Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That verse in the 18th chapter, which I did not remember earlier when answering. Human body or its equivalent, that's what your question was. Natadasti prudhivyam va divi deveshu va punaha sattvam prakrutiyair muktam yadhe vishyatri virgunai. That is the verse.
Yeah, no.
Okay? There is nobody in any loka who is free from the effect of these three gunas. Natadasti prudhivyam va divi deveshu va punaha. Divi deveshu, in the firmament or in the heavens. Sattvam prakriti jaihi muktam edhe vishyat tribhir gunai. That's what is meant by that human body are equivalent.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om, Nana.
Have a nice restful day tomorrow. Have your manana fully for 2 hours.
Yes.
Hari
Hari
Om,
Om.
Nana. Thank you.
That is the 40th verse,
Yeah.
Nana. That
That is the 40th.
Natadasti Prithvya
Very,
Om.
very right, sir.
Okay.
Very right. 40th. Yeah.
Okay.
Hari Om.